topic is passivity of youngsters, and
can everyone hear it from us?
Can you hear us, guys?
Okay, good.
Okay, Maya, I need my communication over there.
Okay. Check. Wystarczy moje tu.
I think it was better from the up. Okay.
Or online. That one.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Alex. I am a yoga instructor, historian, and president of Association of Citizen Ecocultura. I will try to briefly describe three of the main causes for the inactivity. I hope you guys see the screen. For me, there is three possible causes. There is social passiveness, there is political issues, there is personal passiveness. I'll try to better understand this kind of the issues. I'll try to briefly describe each one of them. For me, there is social passiveness. Firstly, I will say there is a mentality of the society. Our mentality of society is that we are always waiting someone to change something from us, to come from outside and change something. Maybe this is because of our history, because we were in the past under the influence of the Ottoman Empire, under the influence of the Austro-Hungarian, and then in to Yugoslavia. And then when the war came, there were many international organizations who were working on the changing everything for us. We are just waiting someone to come from outside of the country and change something for us. That's about the mentality of society. The second one is social stagnation. In the Bosnia post-war country, there is a huge social stagnation in every field. This means that after war, because of the war suffering, because of the economic issues, because of social issues, because of any kind of issues, globally there is a huge stagnation in our society. The third one is the change of the moral values. Actually, this means that in the ex-Yugoslavia we had a different kind of the moral values. It's not connected with any kind of religion or something like that. It's connected with the values for a perception for the working and the courage. In the ex-Yugoslavia, there was a time where the government just put importance in hard working and courage, and now it's replaced with quickly and easy post-war enrichment and apathy. The second possible cause for youth inactivity is political one. If we ask some young people why they are not active in politics, why they are not don't want have any kind of connection with politics, they will say because they don't want, they cannot change anything. And that's also that the system, the apathy system is dealing, it's not dealing with the youth at all. And they don't talk about the issues of the young people, and the young people don't see the bright side of the country, don't see the bright side of the state and the system, and they just want to leave from the country. The next one of the political issues is the monopoly of the political parties. In the Bosnia, we know that political parties have influence in every part of the society, and young people know that, and they know that they must be part of the political party, they must be part of the system to get a job, to be active, or so on. But the problem is also that the young people are not trying to find a work, they are trying to find a job, and that's kind of the why network is important.
Such as that.
Can everyone hear me? I hope so. Yeah. Yes, I am. Okay, I'm really sorry because of these technical issues. I hope I will fix this. Okay, I will come back to passiveness. I don't know, did you heard about social passiveness? Okay, does everyone see the presentation? So does anyone see presentation? No, it's okay, it's writing.
No, they don't.
Yes, Nikshit, yes, Subot, no. Next to Очень удачка, мы должны доведать презентацию.
Так, он же пише, хочеш вам презентацію на
Okay.
Nie, bo co jaki on powoduje.
Okay, I'm sorry because of these technical issues again. I hope you guys heard something from the beginning. I should start from the beginning or just continue? Okay, I mentioned for me there's three possible causes for the youth inactivity in the Bosnian. I will try to detect them briefly, and I will be some kind of the introduction for what will come after me with Inga's presentation. There's the three possible reasons for the youth passivity. For me, there's the political issues, the personal passiveness. Now, what means social passiveness is in our society. In our society, I will talk about the totality of our society, and this is one of the main problems for passivity of the youth. Our mentality is that we are always waiting for someone to come from outside and fix something for us. It means happening from the Ottoman Empire, from the first and the second Yugoslavia, and then we had in the last war, we had many international organizations who took the place in Bosnia and trying to fix someone. And the mentality which I'm talking about is that we're always from outside to change something. Actually, we're not doing anything. The second one is social stagnation. In Bosnia, country like the Bosnia, social stagnation is on high rate because of the war suffering, of the political issues, because of the social issues, because of economical issues, social stagnation. Actually, the people, especially the young people, cannot see the bright future in this country, and they just want to go out from the country. The third one of the social passivity, the change of the moral values. This means that the moral values in the previous time is different than today. Ex-Yugoslavia, the government of ex-Yugoslavia represents the moral values of the hard working, of the courage, and so on. Now, these moral values and value is replaced with quickly and easily post-war enrichment and apathy. The second possible issues we talk for the is political issues. Actually, if we ask someone from the of the youth, they will say that they don't have anything because they cannot change anything, and currently the system is just stuck in the wartime. They don't do anything out of the dealing with the problems, with national issues, with the ethical issues, and with war issues. They just don't focus on the real problems for the society. The next issues of the political issues is monopoly of political party. It means that in Bosnia today, the political party influence in every part of society. It means every part of society. That means that young people know that if they want to change something, if they want to work, if they want to do something, they must be part of the current system of the parties. The third cause is the personal inactivity. It can be political or social, like disappointment with the current situation in society, or it can be personally. There's someone who will be like inactive in every field. Now I will try to show what we can do to change this, to change perception. We can change perception for priority. Today, if you turn on television or any kind of the news, you can see just negativity. All day they are bombarded with all the negativity, and it's really great to watch the television for 1 hour. Just became frustrated and cannot see the bright side of the country, the real examples of society. That means that we should change perception for perception of these issues, to just show the young people of the very side of the deep country, to show that there is opportunity in this country, there is opportunity in every field. The second one, what we can do is to activate young people, through the NGO. That means that we should make some kind of the mess of the young people who will do any kind of Okay. Okay. Is it better?
Wait. Super.
Okay, nice. I'm hearing myself 2 times. Okay, this is what we can do. Право заснято, как чуешь себе. Okay. I don't know, did you hear the previous presentations? I will continue. This is what we can do. Now in the Bosnia, if we turn to our business, there is so many negativity that bombard us with the problem from war, with the problem from any kind of problem with society, with the economy, with social problem. And we cannot see any kind of positivity in television, in the news, and we should work on that to change that perception. There is a positivity in this country for young people. There is opportunity. There is so many opportunity. There is so many examples, right? Example in this country, the young people who are changing something, who do something for themselves, and who do something for the society. The second one is to activate young people. It's mean through the NGO we should make project to activate young people and make some kind of nets between people who want to change something, who want to form themselves. And the third one is to inform young people, to show them there is different kind of the example in society who is doing some kind of positive. I will. This kind of my presentation is like to show the problems of society, and I just gave some example what we can do to discuss after this. And my presentation, it's like some kind of introduction in what will Inga represent now for you. Thank you very much. My name is Kapavant.
I'll just switch the seat. Yes. Yes. Hi everyone. Can you please confirm that you can hear me? Good. Okay. My name is Inga Kotla, and I'm a co-director at American Corner Mostar. Daryl had the first part of the presentation, and I would like to continue now on a more positive note, meaning that Daryl did make a good overview of the challenging times and the complicated world that we live in. But there is one thing that we should always keep in mind. Basically, regardless of the context that we live in, it is up to us to make a decision whether we're going to be active or passive. I'm sure that you have the same experience as I do, in the sense that you probably know active and passive people from both poor and from rich countries. And we can also attest that there are passive and active people within our communities that we are living in, which means that the context in which we live is definitely important, but it's not the most important thing. As I'm aware of or informed earlier, you basically are the ones who are already active or are trying to motivate others to be active. And I definitely am in favor of this sort of people because I do belong to this group. I have faced, and I'm pretty sure that you have also faced, difficulties in trying to motivate others to join the cause that you are fighting for or trying to make a social change. And with this presentation, I would like to give a brief overview of what am I actually doing and how do I try to motivate others. So far, it proved relatively successful, and I do hope that you can use some of these this structured overview in your activities as well. Basically, what I try to do when talking to people that are still reluctant to be active, I'm trying to present the benefits of youth activism, because no one is going to be active because you tell them to be active. People need to see that they have a purpose and that they see a benefit in it. Luckily, activism really is an investment in yourself and your community, so it is relatively easy to explain what are the benefits. When we are talking about activists as person, many of them have reported, and I do hope that we can agree on this, that basically all, or almost all activists acquire the 5 C's. What are the 5 C's? Those are the confidence, character, competence, connection, and contribution. What does this mean actually? It means that the person who decided to be active acquired a sense of purpose and self-worth, and he or she feels useful. He also or she also acquired or gained sense of responsibility and developed his or her sense of empathy. Furthermore, they have managed to build their competences and acquire know-how in many different aspects, in many different fields, which make them a resourceful person, valuable for the local community where they live. They also managed to establish different connections with different people, and they have developed a sense of belonging to the community where they live. Finally, they made a contribution, and by giving a contribution to others, they have sensed the power and ownership and a sense of sharing. All these traits are very important for both personal and professional life. And it's always a bonus when you have a reputation as an activist who is a role model in your local community and a peer educator that is able to motivate others. I'm quite I really like success stories, and I like individual stories because I believe they can truly motivate others to do what they thought it's impossible up to that moment. We have a lot of trends now with TEDx talks and different kind of events that are supporting these success stories, and I really do think that they are making a change. It's a subtle change, but it's a change. And this is what I also try to do in my everyday life through sharing my own example of how I started to be an active person. For example, I'm 28 years now, and I have participated in almost 100 seminars, conferences, study trips, and also helped develop and implement more than 15 valuable projects in local community in Mostar and in Sarajevo in Bosnia and Herzegovina. But how did I start? That's always the most difficult question. Where do you start? I can say that at around 16 years old, I started getting bored of the daily arrangement that consisted only of going from home to school and then to coffee with friends. Now, don't get me wrong, I really think that all three are perfectly fine, but at that point I realized that I needed something more, that I needed something else to grow. And the first thing that I did was I talked to my friends about it and wanted for them also to engage in what I was trying to find or experience. As it comes quite often, I didn't really have the support in the sense that we didn't have the same ambitions, my friends and myself. However, what I did is I was very persistent in trying to be informed, to get the information. Sorry, something is happening with my presentation. There it is. So yeah, I was persistent in acquiring information, gathering information of the opportunities that are there in the city. Now, these opportunities were at that moment quite scarce, I must confess, but I I just didn't give up. I started finding another way to overcome obstacles. For me, it was Google or internet and trying to find international options for further informal education, projects, seminars, study trips, and I really promised to myself that I will not fail to seize any opportunity that could be beneficial for me and my professional progress, as well as that I will not seize the opportunity to act or react when I see something in the local community that I feel is worth changing or improving. In those moments where I started, getting the know-how in many different things, thanks to the informal education, I started volunteering at different NGOs which I admired or which I admired the causes that they were trying to make. But also at that time I thought of that it's also time for me to start initiating my own ideas and projects, no matter how small they are. And that's the thing that I always share with newcomers in the field of activism, saying that whatever step you have or you wish to have, don't get discouraged by the size of it. It's not important how big the change you make is. It's important that you move, that you network, that you exhibit the can-do and will-do attitude, and that you try to attract others to do a similar thing. Now, as I said in the beginning, I know that a lot of you are activists, and basically the purpose of this presentation was to try to give a structured overview of how I try to motivate others. So I'm going to now present the 9 steps that I usually use when talking to youngsters on how to motivate them and attract them to fight for a cause or just to react on certain irregularities or inconsistencies that we face in our local community. So my first advice is to grab your compass. Basically, a compass is a 3-step period in which you try to make a habit of using Facebook and social media to stay informed and inform others on how to on different interesting educational, fun, cultural, activist opportunities that you can find. For this purpose, I always mention some of the Facebook groups and pages. And now on this slide, I'm sharing only a few, and these are LDA Mostar or Hoćuba page or Stipendija Seminar, Mladi Info Point Mostar, as well as funds for NGOs.org. Basically, what I started doing and what I realized that's very, very working for me is that I just like these pages and I follow them and I get information that's valuable and interesting for me, even though when I didn't sought for it. It just pops up and it comes in the right moment and I take the opportunity. So I think that social media is a really powerful tool that we should use not only for interacting in our private sphere, but also for the activist, professional, and other public spheres. Another thing that you can do is to subscribe to relevant email newsletters. Now there are many, but I'm definitely in favor of Mreža Mira and funds for NGOs. So far, they are a valuable source of information for the region as well as for the world. And I take at least an hour to skim per week, an hour to skim the newsletters that I receive on my email. But it's very important to stay updated of the upcoming opportunities. If the deadline for the opportunity has passed, then there's not much you can do, right? The third step of the compass stage is to make a list or map of personal interests and competences. Now this sometimes, or to someone may seem redundant, but this is a tool that will help us to be directed in the destination or in the place that we wish to go or that we wish to acquire. I have seen a lot of people that are visiting seminars and conferences just for the sake of traveling. Now, I'm completely for people attending seminars and conferences, especially since I know that a lot of conferences and seminars are not fully booked, in the sense that there are a lot of there's a lot of money spent on the organization, and then there's a lack of interest of the local youngsters. So from that point of view, I think that as much as people appear on seminars, that's perfectly fine. But this is more of advice for a person to know how to flow through the sea of opportunities and information. If you gather your personal interests and your competencies in one place, then it's going to be easier for you to navigate among the opportunities and make your priorities, which will help you to go to that place that you have a vision of yourself in the future. After grabbing your compass, what you need to do is take your passport. And in this stage, basically the passport is represented by several of papers that you have to have. The first one is your past biography. I hope that all of you have your past biography. If not, I strongly encourage you to make it in both English and mother language, and to regularly update it, because again, you have no idea what opportunity might arise in front of you, and maybe you have to act quick. It's going to be much easier if you have everything settled and just you need to make additional recommendation letter or motivation letter in order to apply for an opportunity that is very valuable for you. Another thing that I really like to point out is the LinkedIn profile. Basically, LinkedIn profile is an online, permanently online biography, and that's a perfect opportunity for you to stay represented in the best way possible at all times to all interested people, whether that be your future employers, your colleagues, your co-workers, your friends and colleagues. It doesn't matter, to everyone that could be interested in your work. Another thing is your collection of certificates. Basically, do apply for and actively participate in seminars and study trips and conferences that you can learn about in the Facebook pages or newsletters that I already covered. And try to be very persistent in neatly organizing your certificates in a folder, because they can come in handy the next time that you wish to either apply for something else or apply for a job. The third thing, maybe even basically, it's a step-by-step process, and the third thing is to volunteer. There are many local NGOs that work on a local level, and try to find one or more whose work you appreciate, or maybe you feel affiliated by the cause that they're trying to solve. That can be anything. It can be youth participation. That can be fighting for animal rights. That could be environment change or climate change. Basically, whatever your interests are, you can just find a local NGO that deals with the same issue and offer your help from time to time. And also, it's not bad if you kindly ask for certificates or confirmations for volunteering. And all this basically makes up your passport. The last three-step phase is to fuel your vehicle. When you have had everything done or at least almost as described, you need to, and you're strongly encouraged to dare to initiate and implement your own ideas. And whatever your idea or project is, or the complexity of the task that you have aimed for, give your maximum. It's very important for every person in the professional, private sphere to stand as a reliable, responsible, and devoted person with the will to study and progress and cooperate. It will give you an open door for another position or another task or another project or another initiative that you either initiated or just joined in for. And finally, this is something that I really like to point out because I see a lot of people that are very discouraged by the overall situation. They try to, basically they don't try to send applications for jobs or for any positions, and they don't go to interviews because they believe they will not be accepted for the position due to different reasons. And I always like to point out my own case. For example, the position where I'm at now, co-director at LDA Mostar, when I sent the application, I was almost convinced that there is a catch in the, in the call for applications, because I thought that maybe either someone who is much older with, I don't know, kind of connections will be chosen for this place. But then I said to myself, you will not be able to forgive yourself if with your own experience and all the success you have, and I was not at that time, fortunately, humble. I really had to have a pep talk to myself, and I said, with all this success, you really need to allow yourself to send this application, do it well as you usually do, and go to the interview. And I was really surprised when I was invited for an interview, and then I was even more surprised when they told me that I gave a magnificent interview and they chose me for this opportunity. But at that moment, there was this moment when I was about to be very passive, in the sense, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to send the application because it's going to be in vain. I decided to tell myself, you will not be forgiving yourself in the future because you will not know what could have happened if you have sent the application. So I did, and I always really try to speak with people about trying to just don't give up and try. It will not cost you anything to give it a try, and you can just see where it leads you. Okay, I think that I have spoken my 15, 20 minutes, and 19, sorry. I do hope that you were able to withdraw some of interesting aspects or information, and this could be useful for you in your private and professional lives, and that you could also use parts of this presentation or an overview to motivate others and to attract them to your own causes and initiatives. I'm now opening the floor for questions and comments and discussion.
Okay, thank you, Inga. I have a question maybe for both of you. How do you see, are the bigger inner obstacles for youth activity or outer, like from the system, from the surrounding? What is the most, the biggest problem for you to overcome? Should they learn how to, address their own inner issues, their own capacities to develop them? Is that an issue, or is it on the other side the system doesn't recognize youngsters as a possibility that youngsters can be active, and there is no any kind of infrastructure for youth activity? So that's my question. Thank you.
Speaker was turned off. Do you mind repeating
Can you speak now that we can just see that you hear us and we hear you?
I hear you. You can talk this way, okay?
And we hear you as well.
Can you please repeat the question?
Okay, I will repeat the question.
Thank you.
Okay, my question is, how do you see, are the inner obstacles of youngsters for activity bigger, or the outer obstacles from the system? Do you see, is it more field to work on the youth capacities and the youth, inner strengths to be active, or it's necessary to work more on the outer obstacles to change the system, to make more some infrastructure that will allow youngsters to be active, or make some programs, channels of communication, and something like this. Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure if I got the question, and I did not trying to help at all, but is the question, was the question related to whether it's best to actually go from bottom up or top down approach in order to have the youth activated?
Maybe you can call it this way, but it's more, if we are working on youth activity, somebody is working on that field, it is necessary to do more work in the field of empowering youngsters and their capacity, or is more work necessary to do with those that should allow space for you to be active, system, decision makers, institutions, etc. So you can call it.
I personally think that it should be a parallel process. Definitely the youth has to be empowered and has to be motivated to take a stand and raise their voice about the issues that are concerning them. But on the other hand, it's also very important to address the political and social spheres to remember and to realize the importance of the youth voice for the youth themselves. Up to now, there was this long tradition of making decisions for the youth without actually asking the youth. So now what we, for example, here in Mostar do is we're trying to set up a dialogue between the youth and the government authorities in order for the youth voice to be heard when it comes to making policies and strategies for the youth in our city and in our canton. So it's a parallel process. It's a lengthy process, obviously, but the small steps are those that count. For example, we had a meeting with the Assembly at the end of last year, and I was lucky to be present there, and I made the question asking, how do you, as an authority, gather information about what do youth in Mostar want and need in order to have this written down in a strategy for the youth in Herzegovina canton, our canton. And that was the first time anyone asked the politician in those words, and the politician said, well, to be very honest, we don't have a mechanism. And I just asked my neighbors, my young neighbors, what they think they needed, And I said, well, I do appreciate that your neighbor has needs and wishes as a young person from the local community. However, I do have those as well, and they might not be, and pretty much for sure, not be the same as your neighbors. And I want my voice to be heard. So, but again, it's a two-way process, and it's very important to address all of the stakeholders. And another one. What is the best action plan to solve the problem of passivity of youngsters?
For who?
Are we now talking as activists ourselves on how to try to make an action plan to solve the problem, or is this
For her.
for her? Okay, I'm going to take the same standpoint of your general opinion. Okay. Well, I'm going to take the standpoint of NGO worker, since I am an NGO worker. For me, I think that sharing of success stories and setting an example by your own work is the way to go. And also supporting others while doing it. And I have thought a lot about what happens and why it happens that in our region we usually have a small spark that looks really well and looks very promising, but then at one moment it just disappears and it just gets shut off for many different things. And then I realized that we have this syndrome called the biggest problem trap, which means that when a small group of persons try to engage to make a social change for one small particular issue, the others just start talking about, oh, that's not the biggest problem that we have, why are you doing that? And then this will group get discouraged. And for me, I think that one of the best small steps, small actions, or small plans that we personally can take is to not allow that to happen to small groups by supporting the small groups. I don't need to, let's say, be over spread when it comes to my interest in the world. For example, I don't need to be super, super supportive towards people that are, for example, fighting for animal rights. I mean, I am, but for the sake of the example, I just want to say that even if I'm not too into it, I'm going to make a support to that group either by Facebook sharing or liking or trying to give a donation from time to time, or at least I will not be a part of the problem by kicking the animals around or shooting them or whatever. So I think that for us as NGO workers, that's one of the steps. The other step could be really networking and interacting in between NGOs in order to make a written plan and a consensus or information sharing in order to raise the facility or to raise the activity of youngsters. I hope that answers at least a bit. Statistically speaking, do you know about statistics?
No, I don't know about statistics, but probably it's less than before, definitely, because I know after more the Bosnian society it was really in apathy. Now it's much active, but yeah, there is a problem for the going out of the country. But I don't know if there is any kind of statistic in this country about the involvement of young people in activity.
I can say that I'm pretty much optimistic when I see my local community. I mean, there are definitely a lot of bad examples in Mostar as well. However, I tend to focus on the positive ones in order to actually keep going. And what I see is that there is a growing critical mass of active people in Mostar, and that's what makes me, optimistic, and I feel that it's worthwhile doing, and basically that's the only choice that we have is to keep doing what we started and try to make the pool of active people even bigger in order to achieve better results.
For me, activism is also like the personal statement. I know when I became a vegetarian or when I started to do yoga in my small place, there is like, some kind of the judgment for me, what I'm doing or whatever. Now, the perception of the validity in the society was changed, especially for ecology, for the climate change, and for something like saving the animals or some kind of similar stuff. And for me, activity is not just like the NGOs. It's us also. Every person who has statement, who can be some kind of the how can I say the reflection of the good choices.
I really like the last question. Is the default definition of youngsters to be active or non-active? At the beginning of my presentation, I have copied one comment from one book called Millennials Rising Up. And I'm going to read just a bit of it. Millennials born in or after 1982 are unlike any other youth generation in living memory. They are more numerous, more affluent, better educated, and more ethnically diverse. More important, they are beginning to manifest a wide array of positive social habits that older Americans no longer associate with youth, including a new focus on teamwork, achievement, modesty, and good conduct. Only years from now, this can-do youth revolution will overwhelm the cynics and pessimists. I really like this standpoint because it gives hope, but not only hope in the sense that's going to be a vain hope and we're just trying to console ourselves, but definitely a recognition of the very uprising level or group of people that are appearing all over the world and that they are trying to be active. And now, the default definition of youngsters to be active or non-active, I cannot say that I could just give a clear answer to that. But I might connect this, if the non-active is the answer, I might connect to the mentality that Darrell was talking about earlier. Basically, if we were raised in a more passive environment, then we are by default non-active. However, if we are giving an opportunity to youngsters, younger generations to see that there is an option of being active or being non-active, then it's no longer a default definition of activeness or non-activeness, meaning that we are the ones that have the responsibility to show to younger generations that they also that can have a choice and not only being uprisen in a non-active environment.
Especially what is the effect of their choice.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? I'll leave that pen alone. What were you doing with the pen?
Okay, is there any kind of the question?
If not, then probably we should wrap up, right?
So you see like that.
Okay. If there are no more questions, it's hard to be active youngster.
Oh my God.
It's even harder to be a passive youngster because you don't get the choice over your life, and that's, I think, the most hardest part of them all. Okay, guys and girls, it was a pleasure talking to you, and
And reading you.
reading your questions. You had our emails on the back of slideshow. Also, Maya and LDA people are free to share our email addresses, so feel free to contact us if you wish to engage in more conversation and questions. Good.
Jo, Majalca.
Thank you.
Możesz może napisać nasze może
Sad će, daj mi pričaj mail vaš
KAPN, DARL,
Bye.